biker name or real name?
Both.
Richard L. Pontius, and I go by Pancho.
Pancho. Rickard Pancho. Rickard is the real name and Pancho is... That's good, so we can see.
Yeah, let me do it.
All right.
I've been a nervous wreck all through serving food.
I would ask you a question and you can just look in the camera.
Okay, I'll try.
All right, Pancho?
Okay.
Could you just start with telling a little bit about your background? Where do you come from?
I originally grew up in Toledo, Ohio, and I spent early 40s there, and then I moved 1988 to Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City. And in 3 years, I lived in a motorhome with my two bikes, traveling around. And I just moved to Lufkin, Texas, year next month.
All right. What about your childhood? Did you have a good childhood?
My childhood was very different. Had a lot of strikes against me. I lost my mother in a car wreck at I was maybe 3 years old. And a few years later, I lost my father and grandfather in the same wreck. And then I was brought up by a stepmother, and I'm sure she did the best she could, but she was a little prejudiced toward her own children.
Did you have sisters and brothers?
I have 2 sisters and a half brother, and then a stepsister and a stepbrother.
Did you believe in God as a child?
We were brought up to be Christians, but the stepmother never went to church. It was our job. She made us go. And somewhere around the 3rd grade, I got baptized. And it was a feeling that I'll never forget it. When we got dressed and was walking home, me and a friend of mine, it was like we were walking on clouds, maybe 2 feet off the ground. We were just so light feeling, it was pretty awesome. It was good.
What about the time in school?
I'd done just enough school to get through it. Like I said, stepmother worked a lot. I turned to the streets pretty early, actually, and I would, especially in high school, and probably before that, but I remember in high school I would steal Darvons and different summer sleeping pills and stuff, and take them and go out and hang out in the streets with street friends, my running buddies, as it were. There was child abuse in my home. I'm talking about me, actually. Her brother, and nothing was ever done about it. And childhood, I wouldn't sleep in bed. I would find closets downstairs in the basement, sleep on dirty clothes, anywhere that I would feel hidden, safe. So that, like I say, at an early age, not to make excuses, but it wasn't a normal childhood when you don't have your parents and you don't have a certain amount of leadership and people taking you to church to say, instead of laying in bed saying go to church. It was different in that kind of way.
After have done the school time, where did you go in life, or what did you do?
Well, I was married, had a child, my own apartment, and everything while I was in high school.
At what age?
18. 18 in high school. I was married in high school, had a baby, a job, in my own apartment, which it didn't work out, of course. And I was already well into street drugs, a lot of alcohol. And then I was drafted shortly after that. In fact, I was drafted 5 times, and I was such a good liar. I kept going home, and Cleveland kept coming and get me, and I'd lie some more. So the 5th time, they just said, "You're in the Army now," and no physical. I just was in the Army, you know.
And how was that?
Well, I didn't believe in the war. It's not that I didn't want to go into the service. I just didn't believe in Vietnam. I don't believe in Iraq, but I back our troops 110%. And once I was in the service, you know, it was okay. I'll do my job the best of my ability, and I did. And I got wounded in 1968, just outside of Tay Ninh, Vietnam, August 19th, 1968. Spent a year and a half at Walter Reed Army Hospital, and before that I did 34 days at Camp Zama, Japan, where they give me no drugs for infection and stuff, so I ended up getting gangrene up to here, and they wanted to cut my leg off 3 times, and I was bullheaded as I am now, and so I got to keep it, you know. It's okay.
During the time in the war, did you ever pray to God? Or?
I only remember one time, and we were wounded, a bunch of us, and we were trying to get back in the APC, and ironically, they were all Catholics, so they were, you know, crossing and stuff, and I was just with them, and I was praying, you know, God, I was telling him, if you get me out of this, I'll be to church every day, I'll go, I won't miss a Sunday. And of course that didn't come true. And he probably knew that, you know. But that's the only time in Vietnam that I remember praying.
For how long time did you go, or were you in Vietnam?
About 43 days, which was amounted to 11 or 12 good firefights, a big battle, and watching a lot of people get blown up. It wasn't pretty.
How did that change you to be in a war?
I think it stole my childhood, and I stole some of it myself because I was married. But I didn't come home the same. I wasn't a happy person. I was depressed. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know I was depressed because when I come home, it was the hippie generation, and everybody's doing drugs and growing long hair and drinking lots of alcohol. And I said, oh yeah, that's me. And all I was really doing was drowning my feelings. And I did that for about 30 years. In and out of jail, not prison jail, but fighting, just being a real ugly person, you know, just wasn't real nice. And I got caught doing some things that wasn't quite right, and Judge Restivo gave me an opportunity. This is when my life actually started turning around. He gave me a shot. He said, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to help yourself. He said, you can go do 2 to 5 years in prison, or you can go do 2 years of probation and go to AA 4 times a week. And I thought, yeah, well, easier, softer way. And so I did that, and that saved my life.
How?
Well, I was able to